If you are optimistic that these talks will result in the next step towards unification?
Thanks for having me. Well, you know, based on the mood and the atmosphere that we've been seeing today with the opening shots of Kim Jong-un crossing and the handshakes and the big smiles and all the heightened expectations leading up to today, I think it's quite safe to assume that the summit will actually be successful because both leaders desperately want it to succeed. However, the big question is, will the two leaders be able to declare some sort of peace that goes beyond just rhetoric and words? Will they be able to agree on some detailed steps that implement past inter-Korean agreements that also declared peace and also declared working towards peace? But in the past, these inter-Korean agreements, both summit level and other high-level agreements, they all broke down because the North reneged. The North never lived up to their expectations. And then also there was also the complication between the U.S. and North Korea that also caused Pyongyang not to live up to any inter-Korean agreements. So I'd be looking out for those types of details. What institutional mechanisms, if any, will the two leaders be able to agree on so that they don't just walk away with just feel-good words about peace and unification? So there's a long way to go. I would not assume or expect that peace and unification is suddenly now here just because they declared it today.
No, of course, Duyeon. This is Martin. Let me quickly jump in with the question on this whole issue of whether or not and how they declare peace or not. I mean, right now it's the armistice which is still in force. So technically both sides are still at war. I mean, what shape or form could this peace declaration take, one? And two, isn't that and wouldn't that be more left for the Trump-Kim hoped for summit, end of May, early June?
Right. So what the Moon administration, ever since he was chief of staff in the previous progressive administration, what they've envisioned was having, there are many scenarios, but among them one is the two Koreas signing some sort of peace agreement or peace accord or declaration, and then having the U.S. and China pick up from there and support that and have that lead to a formal peace treaty that replaces the armistice. But there's so many technicalities involved, there are legal issues involved, and so it's really unclear whether the U.S. and China would be able to easily or quickly agree to signing a peace treaty. Back in like the late 90s, the two Koreas, the U.S. and China, they were engaged in what were called formal four-party talks that discussed this very issue, to sign a peace treaty and what that looks like. But over 2 years, they had about, I think, 6 rounds of talks, but they broke down because the North, first, back then, they did not want Seoul at the table. They did not want South Korea as a signatory. And the North demanded the withdrawal of U.S. troops from the Korean Peninsula as a precondition for that peace treaty.
Still watching? Perfect. Click here to watch another great video from CNBC International. Oh, and don't forget to subscribe. Thanks for watching.